Alright, I wanted to make a video because I haven't made one in a while because I haven't done too much to my truck, but just been kind of kicking back buying some stuff so I can change a few things. And I ran across this a few weeks ago. This is the new OptiDrive Lanzar 8800, which is the same exact thing as the Banda Viking 8800. And I actually called the distributor and confirmed that before I bought it. Kind of hard to see here. It's basically the same thing though, no different. It's 8800 watts at 1 ohm at 12 volts and at 1100. So this thing is ridiculous. I already got the 5000 Banda Viking. It's same size, right about down to my thumb. So it's not too small either, honestly. Compared to what we got here, I got the Stetsom Vulcan 8000 right here. This is 8000 at 1 ohm, and I think 8600 or something like that, maybe at 14 volts at 1 ohm. But it's a nice amp too. I've got the 8000 and the 5000. I haven't tested this one yet. I tested the 5000, and it was every bit as loud as my Banda 5000, but it had more of a forceful tone, I think, more of like a SPL type thing. But I just wanted to bring this one out for the comparison. And this amp, even if you get the Banda version, I think it's like $500 and something. They're selling these now. Beach Audio on eBay got them for like $465. And you can tell by looking at the board here, it's definitely a Banda, no different. This thing's got 24 power supply FETs and 8 output FETs, but they were able to save room too. All the rectifiers are mounted under the board and right to the heatsink, along with the voltage regulators over here too. And it's got 4 fans, and I like how they're angled toward the output inductors like that. And then power supply over here. Really nice terminals, and the thing's built really good. I mean, I haven't seen anything I don't like about it. I think it weighs about 18 pounds or something like that. But about 3 weeks ago is the first time I saw this, and one of the people at Banda stepped down. I think it was the dad, and the sons took over, and they're trying to do new things. So I guess that involves selling amps to other companies. But I do like the white. Most of the Bandas are gray. So this is the new Lanzar OptiDrive 8800. And I hooked it up and tested it. It's definitely a beast, man. I love it. And it sounds just like my Viking 5000. So it's not bad at all. And something else I wanted to put on here too, because I held off getting these full bridge amps for a long time because you just hear so much misinformation, and I hadn't really studied it too much or anything, put any time into it until a couple years ago. But the things I hear all the time is full bridge isn't good for bass, and full bridge needs less components, that's why they're so small. But after working on a lot of them, using them, listening to them, because I've tested a whole bunch of full bridges, guitar amps, Stetsom, Banda, and I own probably 4 or 5 of each one. And the Bandas have the best sound quality, hands down. I mean, it's beautiful on the lows, and I haven't seen anything bad or had any problems with them whatsoever, as long as you do them correctly and use them how you're supposed to. When I read this, it kind of made a lot of sense to me. This is International Rectifier. That's who makes a lot of the components that go in these. So I'm gonna scan the page, that way everybody can just pause it and look at it when they want to. But this kind of explains the differences in the Class D, Class AB, and what they actually do. And it turns out the full bridge is more like a Class AB in the way it acts, even though it's a Class D, and you get a lot better efficiency. And from reading this article, it basically tells you that full bridge is better for audio and it's better for bass, and the half bridge below 100 hertz starts to have a lot of issues. Let's see, I don't know if it says any of that on here. Okay, this discusses the differences, because the linear amplifiers like Class A and AB and stuff like that goes from positive to negative. The Class D switches on and off. And basically the full bridge is more like the Class AB. Because when I first got that first Banda, I thought it sounded more like, you know, old Class AB from back in the day. This is a block diagram. I believe that's half bridge. Yeah. And the half bridge has to use feedback from the output to change the power supply basically for the bus voltage, because evidently when you use a half bridge on a low frequency, unless you've really made arrangements and added a bunch of components, you're going to have issues with your rail capacitors pumping up. So you can let's see. Okay, that just tells you more how it works. Now this is where it starts to contradict everything I've heard. This shows the difference in amplifiers here. Get up to 90% efficiency. Okay, it says with linear amplifiers, the gain is constant irrespective of bus voltage variations. However, with Class D amplifiers, the gain is proportional to the bus voltage. This means power supply rejection in Class D is 0, whereas power supply rejection of a linear amplifier is very good. So it's common for Class D amplifiers to use feedback to compensate for bus voltage variations. Now, this explains in a linear like AB, the energy goes from positive to negative, basically. Kind of a smooth transition from one to the other. Same thing with the full bridge. It acts more like that. Now, the half bridge is different. Energy can go bidirectional, and which leads to bus pumping, which causes the bus capacitors to be charged up by the energy flow from the load back to the supply. This occurs mainly at low audio frequencies below 100 hertz. And last time I checked, that's bass. And this page right here just explains a few different things about, it's basically a switching power supply is what the amplifier is. I think the next page, let's see, this is all your power loss equations. I'm sure nobody's going to sit down and read that, because it's not necessary unless you're trying to calculate all that. But I'll scan it just in case. Alright, half bridge versus full bridge. Basically, and it's another thing I've heard too, that the full bridge is supposed to take less components. That's why they're so small. It's actually supposed to take double the components of the half bridge. Needs 4 MOSFETs per channel, where the half bridge uses 2. Now the linearity, it's superior on the full bridge, and it can basically cancel out that DC offset where you need to adjust it on the half bridge. You can use different pulse width modulation on it, which makes it a little bit more efficient and a little bit less prone to errors. Let's see. Similar to conventional Class AB amplifiers, the Class D can be categorized into half bridge and full bridge. In brief, a half bridge is potentially simpler, while a full bridge is better in audio performance. The full bridge requires 2 half bridge amplifiers and thus more components. Now, I've heard exactly opposite come out of everybody's mouth. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that full bridge needs more components. It's what it is. The reason they're smaller is because they use better components, because they're trying to innovate and make things better, instead of all the old half bridge amps that have been around for 20 years and everybody just throws a whole bunch of MOSFETs in there and tries to make it as long as they can. You really don't need to do that anymore. I mean, it took me a little bit of time to get used to it too, because I started doing it back in the 80s and 90s. But I mean, it's ridiculous now. This thing here puts out 1100 plus watts, and it's got 8 output FETs. I mean, it's ridiculous. And the full bridge keeps getting better and better. And I see more companies, especially this year, everybody's got a full bridge line now. But nobody wants to stop doing anything with half bridge. It's not like there's anything wrong with them, but it just, I mean, it just seems like full bridge is the way to go because it's got too many good points for base. It says, the half bridge topology, the power supply might suffer from energy being pumped back from the amplifier, resulting in severe bus voltage fluctuations when the amplifier outputs low frequency audio signals to the load, which is base. It says, kickback is a fundamental characteristic of Class D amplification. Complementary switching legs in the full bridge tend to consume energy from the other side of the leg, so there is no energy being pumped back toward the power supply, which is excellent because you don't have to worry about that. Let's see. And this page here, this is causes of imperfection. Okay. I'll just do this so you can scan this. Yeah, this is all about dead time and stuff like that too. I mean, that does matter. It's one of the most important things, but as far as what we're talking about, it really doesn't matter. But it's interesting to read though, because it lets you understand of what you're working on or what you're using. That way you know how to use it correctly. Because, I mean, I've tested a whole rack of these full bridge amps and never one time even had one get hot, I don't think. No smoke, no fire, no nothing. I mean, if you use it correctly and understand how it works, then you shouldn't have to worry about it. I think this is the end of the dead time here. No, one more page. It's going to be hard to see that. I think this is a lot of reasons. A lot of amps smoke when you first hook them up when they're mass produced, because just when you throw a bunch of components out in there without testing them, I mean, tolerance is ridiculous on components. Okay, this is comparison between the half bridge and the full bridge. This right here shows basically how that happens. It's bus pumping on the half bridge, significant at low frequency output, significant at low impedance for all the half ohm guys out there, and significant with small bus capacitors. And that's all for the half bridge. Now, over here for full bridge, see that nice smooth flow right there, just like it should be. Now, okay, another marked cause of degradation in Class D amps is bus pumping, which can be seen when the half bridge topology is powering a low frequency output to the load base. Always keep in mind that the gain of a Class D amplifier stage is directly proportional to the bus voltage. Therefore, bus fluctuation creates distortion. Since energy flowing in the Class D switching stage is bidirectional, there is a period where the Class D amplifier feeds energy back to the power supply. The majority of the energy flowing back to the supply is from the energy stored in the inductor and the output low-pass filter. Usually the power supply has no way to absorb the energy coming back from the load. Consequently, the bus voltage is pumped up, creating bus voltage fluctuation. Bus pumping does not occur in full bridge topologies because the energy kicked back to the power supply from one side of the switching leg will be consumed in the other side of the switching leg. So basically what it's telling you is, I mean, if you look at this, the way this goes through here, this right here goes from positive to negative. I gotta get my finger out of there, sorry. And just goes straight to the load. This right here, when it comes from the load, it tries to go back to the power supply. let's see. And the rest of this here is just how to arrange your components and why you get noise and stuff like that. Because some Class Ds, I guess, used to be noisy because you are switching your signal to digital and putting a carrier with it. Scan this here. And I believe that's it. And that's the last thing. So everything it says in there, and I mean, I'm not an expert or anything like that. It's just I happen to come up on this and it contradicts everything, so I had to do a little bit of research. And I do have electronics background. I do work on this stuff, so it does make sense to me, how it operates. And I think the reason they still use a lot of half bridge is because the design's been around for so long. You can copy any of them. You can just throw a bunch of components in there, and they're a lot more tolerant than the full bridge. But if you use this thing correctly and make it do what it's supposed to do, these things are fantastic. I mean, I've never ever had an amplifier sound as good as these Bandas, and I've had amps since the mid-80s, and a whole bunch of them. And I mean, all these full bridges sound okay. The little tar amps are a little noisier on the mids, but I've got a Smart 3 in the house, and I put that thing in place of my Viking 5K Banda, and it was amazing. It sounded just like the 5K. And all of them got real good tones on the lows for me. I haven't had any issues at all. I mean, I haven't had any issues out of half bridge either. Or if I did, I didn't know. But for the power you get and the size and the price, I picked this thing up for $300, free shipping, and I mean, it's ridiculous. It was brand new in the box, still in the plastic. And Beach Audio is the exclusive distributor now, so if you go on eBay, they have weekly specials for these things. And what they end up doing is if somebody sends one back or there's a damaged box, they just put it as an open box return. And the good thing about that is you get it for a reduced price. Because if you try and get the Viking, the Banda version, I think it's still around $560 or close to $600. They've got these now not even on sale. You can get this thing for like $450. And I'm sure it'll do every bit of that 1100 watts. And the preamp section looks really good. TLO 72s. It's if you ever see 4558, those are old garbage op amps. The 72s are clean. They sound really good. Good potentiometers. I mean, build quality is excellent. And for $300, I mean, you can't go wrong with the thing. It's ridiculous. Let's get another shot of it right here. So this will be going in the truck along with some other things before I make my next video. I've built a lithium bank and still changing a few things around, putting in a couple DSPs, doing a bunch of different shit. But this thing is a serious beast. And there's nothing wrong with the Stetsom either, believe me. I think that's a copy of the Sound Digital, I think, when I was watching Sam on Bear Vids. He said it's pretty much an exact copy. And doesn't seem like a bad amp. So we'll see what she does, because I'm going to test this one out too when I get a few things done. But other than that, I really encourage people to study and read and don't believe what you hear all the time. I mean, I'm a real big believer in do-it-yourself, because if you just put a little effort into it and learn what's going on, because people are usually always going to steer you the wrong way, and they're going to want to send you to where they're going to make money or where their buddy's going to make money or whatever. And a lot of times when people give information, it's just information they hear from other people. So just because somebody has a bad experience with something doesn't mean it's not going to work for somebody else if that person figures out what's going on. And I started back in this a long time ago, and I mean, 150 watt amp was $500. I mean, it was ridiculous. So to be able to get stuff like this now for dirt cheap, I mean, it's just amazing how far this stuff's come. But there's warehouses and warehouses of old technology sitting somewhere, and people are going to have to sell it. And of course, you're not going to tell people, it doesn't suck, but it should be advancing. And I really give props to these Brazilian guys, because they catch a lot of shit over here in the United States about these amps. Oh, they suck. You know, they don't sound good on lows. They catch on fire. Well, I've got 4 Bandas, 2 Stetsoms, 4 tar amps, and I've tested every single one of them except this one right here. And not even one time have I ever even got one to shut off, even get hot, and do anything other than play excellent lows. And I mean, it's amazing what that shit can do. And it's probably a third of the size of a comparable half bridge. So I mean, you know, read, study, and make your own decisions. Find out what you want, you know, instead of asking somebody else. And that way you can do it for a lot cheaper. You know, it doesn't even have to have a name on it. You know, I mean, all this shit right here. I mean, this has got Banda on the circuit board, got Lanzar on the front of it, and it's made with the same shit that everybody else is made with. You know, so it's not that different. You just got to be careful for things that aren't what they're supposed to be. And if you study a little bit and try and read articles, you know, like basically this site here, International Rectifier, man, they've got, yeah, I took some classes through Texas Instruments to do a lot of audio stuff when I started back up a couple years ago. I mean, they got online engineering classes. They show you how to design circuits. I mean, it's ridiculous, and it's all free. They give you programs that simulate the circuit for you. I mean, the stuff they've got now for free. There's no reason people should be paying $2,000 for a 4,000 watt amp just because it's got, you know, some brand name on it. You know, I could really care less what the brand is as long as the shit works. It don't matter to me. So hopefully everybody enjoyed that. And you know, I'm not an expert or anything like that. I just wanted to pass on this information and encourage other people to research stuff like this, and hopefully you have good luck with it like I have and save some money. Thanks.